to go ahead and get started real quick. That way, if you have questions at the end, you can quickly ask. The purpose of tonight, what we're going to do is talk to you a little bit about Central Columbia and how we got to what we call the digital conversion. I'm not going to give you the full history. The middle school and the high school were a little bit quicker to come up with their vision and what they think or where the direction that this is heading for them. The elementary school was a little bit slower on purpose because of the age of the students that we deal with and trying to make sure we got it right in terms of what we're looking at and at what grade levels. So the way tonight's going to work is I'll give you a little bit of background about the process so far that has gone on here at Central, not just the elementary school, but in the other two buildings as well. And then Mr. Williams is here to talk a little bit about how the iPads, he's a member of the group that we call the Phase 1 group at the elementary school, which are a few teachers that have had the devices and been able to use the devices in their classrooms for the last 2 years now. So he's going to talk a little bit about the impact that they have had in the room and how they're used instructionally and what the intent of the iPads will be. And then Mr. Monick is here. He's our Director of Technology. He's going to talk a little bit more about some of the policies and some of the protection that the school has in terms of its systems more towards the end. So go ahead. Real quickly, the first question that came up is the why. Why do this? And one of the reasons is our kids are growing up in a world today that we don't know what it's going to look like when they graduate from high school or they graduate from college. It wasn't all that long ago that cell phones came out. And now they're a pretty commonplace or a common item that many of us have. They, meaning the kids, are probably a lot better with these devices than we probably are.
Oh, I know.
They know what they're doing, and it takes us a little bit longer to figure that out. So the main reason why, though, is preparing our kids with 21st century skills, getting them ready for the world that they're going to go out and work in, which isn't going to be the same as the world that we're working in right now. Knowing what that looks like, that's the hard part, predicting what that's going to be. Technology moves so fast, it's hard to kind of keep up with that. And this is a pretty exciting time because I think in education, finally, some of the materials and resources that we're using in school are starting to catch up, or we're starting to catch up a little bit with what kids really need for the world that they're going to be living in. The other is, I just kind of touched on a little bit, it's what they know. That's what they do. And when you skip down to the last one, engaging them, when you think about the things that they have at home that they're in tune with, Xbox, PlayStation, iPads, telephones, all those things that they seem to be like locked onto, well, when you come to school right now, it's a lot harder to engage them when we're pushing paper and pencil and activities are done on worksheets and in textbooks and things like that. So the ability that those devices give us for them to be far more creative, and the teachers, for that matter, too, to be far more creative in the type of instruction that they're getting and then the kind of product that they're getting back. Go ahead, Mr. Monica. So Central, how did we get to where we are? The very first thing that happened was there was some investigation on our part, actually Mr. Mathias's part, went to places like Mooresville to look at what schools were doing with technology. And then from that, he brings that back to us, and then we did a little bit more investigation in terms of what is it that we think about that, and what direction do we want to go with that. And that's kind of why the road is up there. And then the next thing that happened was we took this to the school board because at some point they're going to have to approve this because they approve the materials and the resources that we use here at the school. They also approve and write policies that we're going to have to follow when it comes to just about anything, but in this case, the digital conversion. So the board in September for the elementary school, this past September, had given their approval to purchase iPads for the elementary school. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the structure of that here in a minute as to what iPads go where and why are fourth grade parents sitting here and not other parents in the rest of the building, which we'll get to. So then the next thing we did was we got, 2 years ago, a group of teachers, some in the high school, some in the middle school, some in the elementary school, and their group of teachers we refer to as the Phase 1 group. That's the group of teachers that got MacBooks and iPads to start themselves before the students got anything. Then it was their classes where they started to bring in the iPads for instruction in that phase 1 group, and that was to help guide us. Use them. Work with your kids, give us feedback. What direction do we need to head? What things do we need to look out for? We have lots of questions about apps and all kinds of things. But that's the group that kind of led us to where we are today. So then you look at professional development. That is a huge piece of this. And Mr. Matthias, and I'm sure Mr. Williams and some of the other teachers here can attest to this, he has been adamant that no kid, no child will have an iPad or a device in their hands without the teachers being properly trained. Because when they get it, they need to be used. And there have been a lot of professional development days, some directly with Apple, and the things that they can offer in terms of technology. Most recently, though, a lot of our teachers, phase 1, have been trained, and now they're working with the rest of the teachers, kind of like a train-the-trainer, in using the technology. So the professional development, and that's why if you look up there, it's actually up there twice. That has been a huge part of this whole process. The middle school and the high school deployment, they started with phase 1 group in certain classes. Then they moved to currently, as of today, the beginning of the school year, all 5th through 12th grade students have an iPad. It's used daily for instruction. Assignments are put in there and sent into them to the point where there are even substitute teachers, permanent substitute teachers that work in each of the buildings, that when a teacher is out, their responsibility is to deliver instruction through the iPad, and the substitute is there to kind of monitor that. And the kids actually do it on the iPad and submit it to their teacher before they leave that period for the day when there's a substitute there. So it's pretty involved. The elementary decisions. Obviously we have kids here from 5 to 10 years old, and what's appropriate for them and what they need a device for is a little bit different. We're still teaching kids how to read. They still need to have a book in their hands on occasion to be able to do that. And then there's just some things developmentally that they're not ready for yet. So when you look at the elementary school, what the plan is here is in grades K, 1, and 2, we're going to have 5 devices, 5 iPads in every classroom. Right now we have 4 computers in every classroom. This is kind of a change from the PC computer, but now they'll have 5 iPads in each classroom. At times they can pull them together if they need them. A PC, a desktop unit, is kind of hard to pull them together if you need them. The iPads, they can actually, we have bins that they place the iPad in and get charged directly in there. That way if the teachers want, they can pull several together and have a class set or more. So that's kind of the plan in K1 and 2. In 3rd grade, there's a little bit of a transition. Now we go from 5 in every classroom, there'll be 75 in their grade, and what that is half of their grade. So 75 devices is half of their grade, and primarily it's math and science classes are the 2 content areas that we were targeting. That doesn't mean that the language arts teachers can't use them or won't have them. It just means that the focus with them right now is in math and science. And before I get to 4th grade, this is still I guess a work in progress yet. Meaning this is our kind of rolling it out, but that doesn't mean that we find, in a couple of months or next year that we need to do some changes as well. I know of other districts that have devices as far down as 1st and 2nd grade for all kids. So I don't know exactly how it plays out. We're just trying to gather as much information as we can. Then we get to 4th grade, which is why you're sitting here and not necessarily the rest of the building. The reason the rest of the building isn't here is because their devices primarily will stay here. We only have 5 devices in each of those 3 grade levels, and then we have half of a grade in 3rd grade. 4th grade, the intent is just like you've seen or may have heard in the middle school through the high school, which is a 1-to-1 conversion, which is every student will get an iPad. Not in the beginning. This is where the elementary school starts to be a little bit different. Our kids need to be educated and trained on how to care for the device, what its intent is, how to use the device. So initially when these things get rolled out, they're not going to be bringing it home every day. until we've had an opportunity and maybe you've had some conversations at home to talk to your child about different places, maybe a charging area that they can charge it in, but so that we can train them about how to transport them on the school bus and to keep it, safe and to use it for what it's supposed to be used for. Mr. Monica will get into a little bit more about accessibility to things with students this age and how we're kind of handling that from the technology end of it. Mr. Williams will talk to you here in a second about the instructional piece of that. So that's kind of how we got to where we are. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Williams.
All right, I've been, I think it was February 2 years ago that I got my first class set of iPads. So it was a half year, and then all of last year I ran iPads on a 1-to-1 ratio. And then this year we've been kind of passing our cart around fourth grade so that all students had a chance to run 1-to-1 in their class. It's been more of a training model so far this year. So I've got a lot of experience so far. And even in these 2.5, 3 years here that I've been working with it, there's been just so many changes with things. So it's very exciting. I think these changes are all going to be for the better. So hopefully I put together like a little what the iPad is and what the iPad is not to hopefully clarify some things for what you might think the instruction might be with. Go ahead. The number one thing on this is creativity. One of the biggest complaints that I know teachers and parents alike have had with the testing and everything that's coming down is that it just feels like we're forcing all these kids into this multiple choice world where, what we used to do at holiday time is kind of gone. A lot of the creative projects are gone. With the iPad coming back in, it's been amazing. The video projects that I've had kids work on, the art projects I've had them work on, there's so many opportunities. Nathan's nodding his head right here in front. There's a lot of new things and a lot of things that are current today. And my number one goal with the iPad is not just clicking through quizzes, it's creativity. It's what can you build today? Can you create a podcast? Can you create a video news show? Can you create a poster? Can you create, there's just so many things that we can create so much easier than we used to be able to do. I was one as a teacher that, we even kind of went with this with our Fall Fest. The art and the craft projects, that's not my strength. I can't really make what my wife could make with, paper, construction, and that element. But, and there's a lot of us that don't have those fine motor skills to cut things and make them look nice like other people. When Rebecca Farrell cuts things out, they look awesome. When I cut them, they look weird. So, it gives everybody kind of levels that playing field as far as creativity. We can make things that were not just a cut and glue arts and craft, but it's just a whole new world of creativity that we've never experienced. Independence and responsibility. With having the iPad, one of the biggest things during our day is the guided reading period in the afternoon. And we put our work list up on the board, and kids are supposed to follow that work list. And if they do or they don't, it's kind of a different issue. But having them with all that work right in one device and not lost in a desk and not lost over here or some of it in a cubby, some of it in a folder, it kind of, it helps a lot of these kids that might have had organizational issues bring some of that independence back where they can actually follow that to-do list easier because they know where things are. It's not a quick process to know where all these things are because every year it takes about a month to teach kids where the turn-in basket is on the shelf that's the same spot every day. So a lot of those things they still walk up to, like, where do you want this? I'm done. Same spot. Yesterday, right there on that table. So it's not an immediate thing, but it really does. It's amazing as they get more and more used to the iPad, how they learn, where their things are posted and where they can turn something in and where they can, what they can do when they're finished. So it does teach much more independence than I've seen in the paper world. Metacognition is kids thinking about themselves. I was a teacher that one of my biggest weaknesses was getting paperwork back. Kids would study at home, they'd take a quiz, and it might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I came home. It's so daunting to get through those stacks. Every kid takes one test, and now I'm going through 48 of them with the 2 sections because they're compartmentalized. I was awful. You would have been very frustrated if you were studying hard at home and took a test, and then you were waiting for your score to be in the pass. Kids are now within, sometimes the same day, sometimes it's 2-3 days. Or sometimes it's immediate with feedback of these tests and video. So kids are not, when it was 2 weeks later, is it really meaningful to look back at that score of the one you missed versus when you studied all night last night and then you realize you still missed that one. Or, oh, it worked. I studied it, and my mom gave me that trick, and now I got it right. So metacognition, thinking about thinking, and teaching kids to know, what should I be scoring on this? What's a good percentage? What should my quiz look like when I finish? And quizzes that can be done, as soon as they finish it, it's scored, and they know exactly how they did. It builds a much bigger sense of what's the target, what's my goal, and what do I want to get out of things. Organization, I kind of touched on that a little bit. My desk was not really something that would be a model as far as cleanliness, but inside the computer I can keep things organized fine. I've seen evidence of that with other students too. I had one last year. The mom came in at conference, was just very worried about the organization, and the physical desk did not look good. The backpack did not look good, and I said, let's take a look at something. We pulled out her iPad. Every single document was named, labeled, organized into folders. It was amazing. So it can give kids a different sense of what organization is, that they might, I'm sure we've seen different bedrooms at home and different abilities of keeping bedrooms clean. Some people have that in a spatial sense, some people don't. And this just provides another opportunity for somebody to get things done. And it's amazing how much easier it is for me as a person to organize digital folders than it was in the paper world. Motivational marvel. Kids don't like to write. Very few kids like to write. When they get to type essays, when they get to type things, it's amazing how much more they put into it. The simplest little tasks that they would have, really, really drug their feet over, when you have them do it, put together a presentation in the iPad, they instantly want to try harder. It's unbelievable how much more effort I've seen from students doing a project through there than when I would try to assign something paper-based where they had to create or filling in worksheets isn't really that motivation. It doesn't seem that fun when I think back to school. So motivation, it's just skyrockets through. Leveling the playing field is something that I've found some of my students that just always seem to be engaged are a lot of kids that maybe travel or do a lot of things, have a lot of experiences. But now with these iPads, you can do things like going into Google Earth or into the Apple Maps application. You can open up the satellite photos. Like in my class, we've traveled everywhere from where the Schuylkill River meets the Delaware to the pyramids in Egypt, and you can see the live view of these things. And you can show things like you've never shown before and give kids that experience that they might not have had. So it can certainly level the playing field from as far as prior knowledge goes. Student collaboration, it's far easier to communicate through there and work with kids. We've had discussions happening where it's absolutely silent in the room. You can get so much more group participation on things using some of the digital tools that we have, and it's just far easier to have student projects in that sense. The last thing I put there, unknown opportunity. Like I said, 2.5 years, this has changed a lot. There's so many new things that I can do now. I thought I was doing revolutionary things, 2 years ago, that I look at that same thing now, and it's kind of simple. It doesn't really push the limits on what the iPad can do for the students. So it's going to be an ever-changing game of finding new things. Well, what else can they build now? We're into this sketchnoting concept that I've been working with. If anybody knows, they're heading out here. It's very fun. There's a lot of new things every year. Okay, so now hopefully this kind of clarifies some things. One more slide here. What it's not. It's definitely not just a gaming device to sit and click through things. I know we have things like a reflex math, which is a great review. That's not the focus. That's something that's just an extra little something. We have some other things that are, we have Raz Kids, which is a reading one, where there's, you watch read the book in there, then you click through. It's not just following the steps and clicking the buttons. That's far from what it should be. A simple video player, it's definitely not just watching instruction on YouTube now instead of inside the class. It's funny, I've been so far into this with being an iPad pilot teacher. In my own house, I am ultra strict with my daughter who's in first grade and her screen time. I know that's a concern with a lot of people, is screen time. And I will never assign kids to just be going home and vegetating and staring at the screen. What I want to see them do is, get really engrossed in a project and they're building something creative. Maybe they're, eventually later in the year, I'm going to teach the kids how to code and build some of their own apps. That's something that I would like them to continue doing. Putting a lot of creative deep thought into something, staring at a video and clicking through buttons is definitely not what we're targeting in this. Okay, that covers click and play. Traditional literature. Books are not going away. I've done more with books since using the iPads than I ever did prior to. It lets me to do far bigger projects as far as blog writing or maybe reviewing it on a website, creating some sort of video review. There's so many things that you can do to follow books. So it's enhanced how I've used books as a teacher because I didn't have as many strategies to do afterwards other than, here's a book report, something that was, things that weren't fun. And now there's more opportunities for the kids to build something that they've created because it's their choice. So literature is not going away. It's actually going to, it should be enhanced a little bit by this whole thing. And my number one thing that it should not be is the distraction at home. I don't want anybody to feel like, I know that I've had students in the past kind of use, well, I was supposed to get on here. I've had parents that work in the school tell me that their child was trying to tell them they had to get on to do something. You can always email and ask what they have to do. It's not supposed to be taking over your lives at home. It's supposed to be an extension and let them continue a really great project that they're working on. So hopefully that clarifies some things for you guys as parents. You can always shoot me an email if you have any other questions or concerns as far as or your teacher once they all get their devices. But yeah, ahead of that time, feel free to email me if you have any questions on it. All right, now would be Mr. Moore.
I get to do the show and tell on some of the hardware, and hopefully alleviate some of your fears that your son or daughter is going to be bringing home a lot of expensive hardware. And then when they get it home, what are they going to do with it, or what can they do with it, and what kind of trouble are you going to get at home? We have about 2 years experience personally. We have over 1,200 iPads out in the field now, and we're going to share with you some of the things that we've learned. So what do we have for you? Let me put my little bag of tricks down here. This is when you go out and buy an iPad Air. Everybody gets an iPad Air, from a senior down to kindergarten. They're all the same. They're a 32 gigabit iPad Air, Wi-Fi only. So if you have Wi-Fi at home, it'll connect without a problem. So am I going to give students this iPad Air basically naked? The answer is no. We purchased these covers, plastic protection, rugged protection. It has a screen in front of it now. It's not going to take a pencil or a knife on it, but it's basically going to protect this iPad very well. And then on top of that, we have a microbial non-latex coating bumper that goes around the whole thing. So we found that these things, while they're not totally indestructible, they're pretty close to being indestructible. And then on top of that, when they transport them, we provide students with a sleeve, so they put their iPads in a sleeve for transport. So I think we've done everything we can to help make both our lives easier when students take them home. They put their name on this cover, on the cover of the iPad. They have a name on the screen when they take them home. What we're doing right now is taking pictures of their ID badges. And I don't know, how much students have ID badges? Probably not.
No.
So we'll figure something out for elementary school students. So when they also come home, they're going to be coming home with an AC adapter and power cable. What we've learned a lot is leave this at home. So they take it home and simply at night charge it. The iPad is good for 10 hours. Usually lasts 2 days if they don't charge it every day. The experience is that's what we've had. We also have chargers in the classrooms and around for emergency charges. But what you don't want to do, and I'll say this about 1,000,000 times, is put the iPad in here and put this in there with it, right? That's going to create a focal point that's going to crack the screen. So that's why we really emphasize take this home and leave it home, and then you bring it back at the end of the year. So that's the hardware and the cases that we have for taking the hardware home and transporting them back and forth. And like Mr. Sharrow mentioned, students, fourth grade students are going to be taught how to transport the hardware. I wish we could do that for the high school, because sometimes they don't even know how to transport hardware properly. I see them throwing it in their backpacks and then their books on top of it. And all I say to them is, if that was your iPad, would you be doing that? The answer is usually no. So then they put the iPad on top of the books, and then they don't throw their backpack and sit on it. Go ahead, sir. We do have insurance for parents. Yes, well that's what, as a parent, and again, we've learned this. We have insurance for parents that you can opt in or opt out. It's based on free and reduced meals. That's what FNRM means. We usually spell it out as farm, but that would really confuse you if I spelled it out as farm. So the federal program of free and reduced meals, regular meaning you're not participating, is $25 a year per student. and your first incident would be $20. So it's kind of like a deductible on your insurance. Now, if you have another incident, it's $40. So you can see how you really don't want to have a second incident, but again, it's covering anything that happens accidentally to your iPad. If a student brings in an iPad in pieces, soaking wet, we're going to say maybe that wasn't an accident. We have to find out what really happened to that iPad. But basically, we will cover the iPad and the accessories with this insurance. If you're a reduced family, it's $20 a year, $10 for the first event, and then $25 for consecutive. And if you're free meals, it's $5 a year, $10 first incident, and $25. All of this information is on the elementary school website under Parents. And we'll show you right where that is with a lot more information, and we'll be communicating a lot more with you via our website. So you can opt in or opt out. Now, if you decide to opt out, then basically you are responsible for the repair, replacement of damaged cords, and we have all that information on the website, what stuff costs. The cords are $20. Sometimes they bring them in and say the vacuum cleaner cut my cord, it's cut in half. Well, that's $20 to basically replace the cord. That's why I'm talking about AC adapters, the sleeves, $25. These are actually the costs that occur in purchasing the equipment. They will go down. I think the iPad replacement costs are going down because we're buying them in bulk, and the cost of an iPad comes down when they keep introducing newer stuff. Right, Tom?
So you can buy additional insurance in case something would happen?
Yes, sir. Yep. Right, Tom? We're also very interested in protecting our children. I go home fatigued sometimes because I have like 2,000 kids that I worry about. And I worry about the stuff that they take home. So two of the big things that we focus on is COPA, Children's Online Protection, Privacy Protection Act, and CIPA, Children's Internet Protection Act. What we have at school is that we protect our students from what we call the bad people out on the internet. And we work very hard to make sure that we comply with these federal programs. COPA basically is children's privacy and no advertising if you're under 13 years of age. We don't want to have our students targeted for any kind of advertising, and that's the law if you're under 13. Internet filtering, just keeping harmful content away from our children. Go ahead, Tom. So when your students, your sons and daughters, take these devices home, they will not have social media access to the outside world. We would have our own social media access within our intranet. So we'll use the word intranet versus internet. Intranet is Central Columbia. Can you connect to the internet from home? Sure, electronically, but you're still protected. It's on our closed loop, so to speak, that iPad, even though it can connect to your Wi-Fi at home, the only way it can connect to the total outside world is it can't. It's going through our content filter. So that iPad will not. Now your personal devices can. We also have no email to the outside world. Mom and Dad, you cannot email your son or daughter because you're on the outside of the world. So our students and their teachers and students within our environment can email each other, but no one from the outside. No photo sharing, no messaging, no entertainment video, Netflix, Hulu and all those. No personal access to the App Store. What we want to do is really focus, we use the term academic focus, the iPads. Now, does that mean it's going to be sterile and not fun to use? The answer is no, it's going to be fun. There are a lot of educational games and academic resources that are a lot of fun. But you're going to have to worry about all kinds of other games, and your kids will want to be spending money on buying, in-app purchases for games, not on our device. FaceTime, photo streaming off, access to non-educational games will be off. So with our automated protection, again, it's not 100%, but we really need parents to be involved in monitoring and watching what students are doing on their iPad. We work very, very hard to make sure that protection is in place and we follow up on it. But really, you're on the front line and we're your support. So when students do come home with their iPads, it doesn't mean you can just let John worry about it. He'll take care of everything. I really need to be partners with you all And of course, you contact me directly if there's any difficulties that you have at home or things that you might find that have changed. Yes, Tom? So students, the fourth grade students are targeted to get their iPads on or before December 20th. They're not going to be taking them home immediately. Mr. Sharrow mentioned that he's going to be working with the students. When they take them home, we'll be able to charge them here, and then you'll know everything that happens before the students can actually take their iPads home. Before that, we'll be sending you the envelopes home that you can opt in or opt out. So you'll get an envelope that says opt in, put your check in the envelope, send it to us, and then we document that you opted in. If you want to opt out, just check opt out. So we need to know that you didn't opt out. If you don't send the envelope back, then we're going to have to be calling you asking you, did you forget about us, or did you opt in or opt out? At a certain point, we'll just conclude that you're opting out if we don't get your envelope back, but we really would appreciate that kind of feedback. That will do it. Mentioned on the website, if Mr. Sharrow can you jump on the elementary school website, Tom? There is a lot of information on the website, so Tom's going to go to the, he'll go to the elementary school website. I'm sure you've seen it once or twice, I hope. Now that's the district website. He's going to go to the elementary school website. Basically, we have the same information on everyone. But you can see where it says parents. All you have to do is go over to parents and go down to digital conversion, iPad, and everything is here. Question and answers. Our students have a help desk. In fourth grade, we'll be able to submit help desk issues if they have any problems with technology. I always say technology is great when it works, right? When it doesn't work, yeah. But when it doesn't work, they can't do anything. So we try to make backups and have things that are backed up. Does iTunes go down? Does Apple, the App Store, go down? The answer is yes, it does. I was shocked. It actually went down a week or two ago for about a day. It didn't cripple us, but it kind of hurt us moving forward. So we have to be ready for that kind of stuff. And all the information is there. There's student iPad responsibility policy. If you want to see a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, it tells you about everything that's available on that. A lot of information here for you, and we'll keep adding stuff for you. And Tom, go ahead and click on the insurance one on the bottom. This is the detailed information about insurance, the opting out, and all the details. So everything is listed here. We'll keep populating this with more information. If you have any questions, I'll make sure I have my email there, and you can shoot me an email. That's it.
Okay. Unless you have any
Does anybody have any burning
questions.
questions?
I was just about to hear about that extra insurance.
Regarding the screen time, where do you see, is there parameters, is there a target on how much screen time the kids will get on the iPads in a given day?
I don't have a quantitative amount. I mean, it really does depend on what's going on. Like today, nothing was touched in science because it was an experiment day, so it's all hands-on. You know, it really does depend on what's going on, what's being used, and yeah, it's a little specific to the activity that we did. But I would never expect them to be doing any more than the required 40 minutes. So just 45 minutes of homework a night. Definitely not more.
And in the elementary school, there's still portions of their day where.
No, I'm just saying during the day, not necessarily
Yeah,
at night.
there's portions of their school day where the iPad, it can really enhance what they're doing, but there's still portions that they're not going to be able to use the iPad for. We still have like a guided reading period, K through 4. There's just things that we're doing during the day that it won't.
Math generally has about a half of the time is spent on some fact work or in the journals, and then maybe something that's on there as a collaborative or a demonstration whiteboard. It's not like all the time in every class. So there's definitely a high rate.
Yeah.
Is their iPad going to follow them to fifth grade?
Yes, it is. They'll follow them for the life of that device.
But it actually gets turned in, if I'm correct, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The tech department will take a look at them, reconfigure them.
We
do
clean
what
them
they
up,
need to.
make sure everything is fully functional. If we need to re-enroll them, update them, we'll do that during the summer. But yes, their iPad will follow them for 5 years is our hope and desire.
Have you had any issues with multiple users
Yeah, I had that in our family, and even our dog had Wi-Fi stuff. I mean, we focused on academics, and then on our devices, you won't have a lot of Wi-Fi at home, actually. If you don't have Wi-Fi at home, your son or daughter should be able to accomplish their tasks at home.
Most of
Downloading
the
their
I'm hoping
content.
to target assignments that are extensions of maybe building a movie and things that are not based on the internet. So it could be a perk for somebody that does have it, but I'm hopefully targeting assignments that are not Wi-Fi based.
And they also have the capability of downloading what they need here at school
Their content.
so that it's on there.
That's what Amanda tells me every day, but
Yeah.
for some
But-
reason that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we don't know what, yeah.
Why?
Yeah, gee, I don't know if I can do it, and I don't know why they can. It's obvious if they have internet access, it's a lot easier, a lot more fun, a lot more interactive. But we have a product, a vendor we buy called eBackpack. It's a digital workflow product. Basically, they're handouts, they can download them, they're reading materials. And we're working right now on the video content, flipping the classroom so they can watch their videos. That was a little glitchy, so we're trying to work all that out with the latest release of iOS 9.
I would just, I guess my question would be about eBackpack would be some type of tutorial or something for a parent, because that's my biggest frustration with my child.
Yeah.
Saying they need the Wi-Fi and that they can't download that so they can bring it home. So that's been, I guess, with a couple older children, frustration before.
Well, we find that that's a problem. So my goal now, the last meeting we had this week, or late last week, was what's our backup? We can have two ways to download something. Because eBackpack was down once for a day or so. And well, we can't have an electronic snow day, right? So we're working hard on a backup. So right now we're looking at some Adobe products that the teachers can create it once, but a student can save it two different ways. So just in case something's down. Or we had that power outage when the blimp went by. I mean, go figure, anything can happen.
I think also to answer your question, one of the things we work internally on with our teachers is developing courses or professional development on certain pieces, from teaching strategies to some things like eBackpack. But having something like an eBackpack on a tutorial kind of video kind of thing that you could actually watch to see how it works or operates, and maybe even use their device to do that, I think might add a little bit to your.
It's just one of those things that I don't know if they're telling me the full,
Right.
telling me
Right,
you
yeah.
can do this, but yet you're not doing it.
Stay in contact with your classroom teacher, with your child's classroom teacher, and then they can let me know. Parents that their child have had me know that I've sent out some little demo videos in my parent blog, and I'll be willing to pass those out to their teachers that they can forward out then to their parents as well. So that if you feel like you're getting one pulled over, definitely let us know. We'll make sure that they're not.
We're going to share information that there's parent portals now. With our community portal, if you don't have access to our community portal, that's something you'll want to do. You'll get information on that. And in eBackpack, there's a parent portal on that, so you can go in and see what's going on in the classroom also.
Is this going to take the place of any paper assignments they might have to do at home, or is that going to be in addition to?
It could be both. We don't know exactly yet. It's definitely going to take the place of some of those things. That's part of the intent of going this route, was to help alleviate or take away from some of the paper and pencil type things that have been going on. So you should see, I would think, a reduction in that. Some places and things like math, you might still see some of that, everyday math.
My goal is that they have an option then. I mean, we already have the home link books with everything in there. Some kids really like to just work on the paper for math when it's formulas and equations and things. And so I'll still keep that option open, teach them how to take it and turn it into a PDF in the morning and turn things in. And then I'm going to try to have a digital version that people that really like to use the color and the other features of the iPad, that they can do it either or. So it should be in replacement, not adding to it.
And one of the things this device has really helped with is individualizing instruction. A lot of the software and apps and things like that out there can be individualized to where each individual student is, and it's really helped teachers pinpoint and work with students at their ability level, even though you might have 25 kids sitting in front of you in a classroom. So it's really helped individualize that. And the other thing it's done is it's really helped make the feedback that teachers get immediate. I know I've been in Mr. Williams' room, and he's using things like Schoology and some of these apps where he can create things, might be a 3 or 4 question something or activity that he's doing, and as the kids are answering it, he's getting feedback, not just from them as a whole as a class, but individually as a student. He's getting feedback on his device at the same time about where each of those students are with what he's asking them to do. That's probably for me been the most dramatic, or probably one of the most important pieces of this, using this device, is the fact that it can individualize instruction like it has, and that teachers get immediate feedback as to where their students are. Not at the end of the week when you give them a test, but daily in each class. Yeah.
Question concerning the Sapphire Community Portal and then eBackpack. Is it going to be 2 separate things, or are you going to be combining? Like in middle school, I mainly use Sapphire. I go to the community portal, I can see all the notes, but some
Sapphire is a
teachers
little
use
different for us
eBackpack.
because of our standards-based report cards.
Right.
They don't really mesh with Sapphire's day-to-day posting and grade reporting, so.
I can see though, as a parent having kids in
Yeah.
Yeah,
multiple
just trying to
buildings, you
figure
don't want to be
out where
working
to
with
go.
different
Right.
platforms.
That's,
And
Right.
many of the parents that have been with me have noticed that I've tested out Edmodo, I've tested out eBackpack, I've tested out Schoology and trying to work this system. Again, I would say, stick with your classroom teacher and get that system for how you guys want to be able to see some of these scores quickly, because that's one of the great benefits of this is, I wasn't a very reliable paper taker homer when I was a kid, so, you can kind of sidestep around that and check out how things are going very easily. But that's a system that's still kind of a work in progress with, Sapphire being not quite as aligned as it is in middle school and high school because they go percentage based. So for us being on 4-3-2-1, it's going to be kind of a mix, but I'm going to recommend my teachers to have a one-stop shop for you guys.
Yeah, as long as I know.
But it is going
eBackpack's
to
more
evolve.
elementary.
Yeah.
We're having a meeting tomorrow with Sapphire.
Yeah.
And the whole meeting is basically, how do we start
How to
putting
make it
these
work for
products
everybody.
together? Because when I was a parent, I don't like going into all these different
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah.
It just gets confusing. We want to make it simpler. But a lot of these products have silos and ecosystems, and they don't play nice together. We're giving them the message, this stuff has to start playing nice together, so our parents know what's going on without a lot of work.
Yeah.
Where does the district stand? Some of us have heard rumors that the iPads, because more and more students are getting the iPads, that they're going to do away with school day or snow days. Is that true, number one? And
One, has that been conversation? It has come up in conversation, but in order for something like that to happen, those things have to be approved by the state. And there has to be a plan for what's happening instructionally if they don't come to school, and if you're using the iPad, what exactly is that? You have to kind of lay all that out. So yeah, there has been conversations about that, but we're far from anything
Okay.
getting approved about that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.